The debate in China, whether they're going to have a soft landing or a hard landing, has been going on all year. Stephanie, we've talked about this before. Were you surprised that we got the news this week that China is not going to have any major stimulus to support the economy?
Well, I don't know if I believe what they're saying, number one. But number two, I think what they'll continue to do consistently is look at their RRR. That's what they have done in the past, and that has been very effective in the past. So rather than pouring in a whole bunch of money into projects or into other things, I think it's most important to get their banks healthy and healthier and lending again.
So that should be enough.
Well, I think they need to do it aggressively. So they can't stop, and I don't think they should stop. But I also don't know, how do they really know what's going to happen in six months from now? And really look at Europe. Europe seems to be decelerating. So they don't have the flexibility like they did. I think they are going to have to act, and I wouldn't be surprised if they act. But I would say, again, I think focus more on the RRR as the more important metric.
Okay, and at the same time we hear this news that they're not going to have any major stimulus. We hear that Kraft is going in there, they're putting more products in, they're trying to get a bigger presence, kind of making a bet on the consumer. So what's your thought on that?
Well, I think that that's what the government has been trying to do for the last couple of years, and it's intensifying, is growing internally instead of growing through exports. And that's why you've seen some of the numbers, a lot of the trade numbers have changed pretty dramatically. It's a huge population. That's not a surprise. So I think focusing on the consumer, that's kind of what we've always thought in terms of that's the place where you want to be. Names like a McDonald's, names like a Yum, even names like a Ralph Lauren. For the long term, if you listen to what these companies are saying, they're saying that it's really explosive growth, even though the macro is slowing and the industrial part of the business, the economy is slowing. So that's why we've shifted from kind of more industrial plays and mining plays based on China to more towards the consumer.
And the Coach is expanding over there, some other retail names too, like you said.
Absolutely.
So which names do you avoid? The miners,
Well, I mean, there's a price for everything, right? And so should they start to do some sort of a stimulus, you will see, the industrials go. I think at least in the near term, though, it's a harder call for the commodity-like names, right? And it's a harder call for the industrial names. So this is one of the reasons why we sold a Cummins and a Caterpillar and a Deere. I mean, we own the GEs, Boeings, those kinds of names, even an Eaton, where we think they're better positioned for the long term, and they're less volatile based on the headline news out of China. So I think you have to kind of transition away within industrials. There are certain ways to play, but I do think the consumer still is very interesting, and it's a play over there, and that's something that we would continue to be adding to names.
So focus on internal growth in China and maybe avoid some of the export type names.